Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 9 of our 19 days of June. Happy Sunday if you were joining me live and in real ish time. I hope you're having a mindful weekend of sorts. And I know that weekends aren't always the most calm or relaxing for everyone, especially as our lives get busier. But again, this is the reminder of exactly why we are doing this. So, as we know by now, we aren't exactly doing like a brand new mindfulness activity every day because there's only really so many that work in the format of a live stream. But we are bringing in a new layer or a new awareness or a new version of that practice. And that's exactly what today's practice is a little, I don't want to say trick. It's not really a trick, but just a little thing. I'm going to use that word because it's super vague because there isn't really any other word for it. A little thing that I started doing for myself quite a few years ago now. I used to live on the coast, so right near the beach. And I realized at some point that when I would go to the beach and just sort of gaze out or go at sunrise or whenever I would go, sometimes I'd be so caught up in thoughts, which again is not the problem, is not our problem. But sometimes I'd be so caught up in thoughts that I would forget to actually just stop and pay attention to the waves right in front of me or the glitter of sunlight on the waves or the way the water moved or the way the clouds were moving over the horizon or whatever it was, right? So this is this is a reminder of how we can it's a little bit of the blend of um the transition moments practice and our usual just normal breath practice or sense practice. So it doesn't really matter how you do this one in terms of which mindfulness practice you use, but the practice here today is the reminder that we let me rephrase that. It's the reminder to pause. So what I used to do is I would once I realized that I wasn't really like being present in, sometimes the small amounts of times that I would have sitting or standing on the beach just to have a brief moment, I started making this kind of deal for myself. Excuse me a moment. We're almost there. We're almost through it. It's getting better. Thanks, whiskey. So I started making this deal for myself, and that deal was, I would do my best and whatever it was, I would be there in the moment. But before I left, no matter what, I would spend 10 conscious breaths, so that equal diaphragmatic breath. I would pause for 10 breaths. I would count them backwards from 10. So my brain knew that there was an end point coming. Because sometimes if we count forwards from 1 to 10, the brain will go like, oh my gosh, it could be like we could be here for like infinity. Oh my gosh. But if we count backwards, it just, for me, I found it helps my brain to focus and go, you know what, we only have 10 breaths. Let's make the most of it. But I would spend just 10 breaths, counting them backwards, and just letting my brain have this very short period of time of only focusing on really it was the senses. It was a blend of the breath and the senses, right? Really focusing on just watching the water or really focusing on the smell or the sensory experience in some way. So I was really present. So we're going to do that right now. But it is also the reminder to practice that when you do have those moments, you don't need to add this to your schedule, but when you do have those moments wherever you are, to just practice 10 really present breaths, even if you've already been there. So It could be watching your kids play a soccer match, right? Or whatever their sport is, because you're really in the present moment. But what if you spent 10 breaths really just soaking in the moment? It could be when you're brushing or washing your dog, right? I've had this with my Malamute where as she gets older, it's sort of really easy to kind of, get caught up in those thoughts, or because she's an Arctic breed, that coat is really something else. So I had these moments where, at the end of summer when she's having her blowout, I'll be brushing her out and I'll just be like, oh, how lucky am I to just be here? And I'll just be breathing and be really present, noticing the sensory experience, even if it's, like not the funnest thing to do, or any of these sorts of moments where even if we're enjoying the moment, really let ourselves pause. So I think you kind of get the idea of where I'm going, but right now we're just going to do 10 breaths. And whatever you're doing safely, if you are driving or operating machinery or anything like that, right? But you can still practice this. Um, it might even help you become more present and aware of your surroundings while you're driving, but make sure you put safety first. But safely, we're just going to do 10 breaths. And wherever you are, however you're listening to this, no matter how mundane the thing it is that you're doing, you could be folding laundry. I want you to really just take these 10 breaths to really drop into the sensation of, if it's folding laundry, oh, this repetitive movement that's quite meditative. The feel of the texture of the towels or the fabric or the whatever it is in your hands as you fold it while you are breathing and just focusing on that for 10 breaths. And that is all your brain needs to do. And it will have an endpoint so it can go off and do whatever it wants after that. But that's what we're doing. This is a really, really helpful mindful practice. So, no further ado, let's go. You work with your cadence of breath, but I'm just going to work with a sort of standard one. If yours is a bit longer, absolutely. If yours needs to be a bit shorter, we're not trying to race, remember? It's not a race to the end. But if your stretch of breath is still a bit shorter than the cadence I'm working with, work with what yours is. When I say the number, that's not the length of the breath, it's the count. So that'll be the 10th breath, the ninth breath, the eighth breath. So that's all I mean. Let me just get prepared for a moment. And we're ready. So inhaling 10, exhale 10, inhale 9, exhale 9. So you're still doing what you're doing, just but noticing sensory. Inhale 8, really in the present moment. Exhale 8. Inhale 7. Exhale 7. Inhale 6. Exhale 6. Inhale 5. Exhale 5. Inhale 4. Exhale 4. In 3. Out 3. In 2. Out 2. In last breath that we're counting. Out last breath that we're counting, not forever. And then just take a deep breath in, long breath out. And just breathe normally. Maybe take an extra moment. And this practice is not meant to be perfect, but it allows you to practice dropping into the present moment, whatever is happening in the present moment, so that life doesn't slip us by, so that it doesn't just miss us, that we don't miss it, that we get to notice all of the little details and see the beauty in the mundane details. Sometimes, laundry is boring. It's so boring, but sometimes we forget the the amount that we are fortunate to have laundry to do, that we are fortunate to have, like, if you do your family's laundry for whatever reason, that you have a family to do laundry for, that you love, that these clothes keep them warm, or these towels keep them dry, or these sheets, bedspreads keep them cozy, like, whatever it is. This is a constant practice and reminder for me too, especially with an ADHD brain that wants to do all the things, and why aren't we there yet? That these mundane moments of presence are actually the magic that fills up our lives. So that's just the practice right now, but maybe try practicing that in the everyday moments when you have a moment where you're just watching something or just doing something and you can just pause, continue doing it, but kind of pause your brain in a way and just count those 10 breaths as you breathe, as you just notice the sensation. And sometimes that builds an appreciation for our experience, for our lives, for how they're built up, while also building the clarity. Practicing appreciation doesn't need to mean that you stay exactly where you are if you know that there's still more that you want. But it means that you get to practice appreciating what you already do have, so then you can build upon that. So, anyway, happy weekend. I will see you guys tomorrow for our day 10. We're over halfway. So let's keep going. Let's keep going and keep doing it for the next, what would that be? That would be the next 10 days after this. So let's go. I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.